Welcome back to the Eight Man Breakdowns podcast. This is where we discuss all phases of the game of football, including philosophy, play concepts, questions, and more. Joining me today is Coach Andrew Kuta. Coach Kuta is the head football coach at Sandy Creek High School in Fairfield, Nebraska. He's a 2013 Sandy Creek alum and returned to lead his hometown program after a successful collegiate baseball career. Since taking over as head coach 4 years ago, Coach Kuta has led Sandy Creek to excellence, delivering the program's first playoff wins in over a decade and capturing the state championship last year in 2024. Well, Coach, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
First, just tell us a little bit about your football background and how you got into coaching football.
Yeah, so being a head football coach was never really the plan for me, I guess. Played high school football at Sandy Creek, graduated from there in 2013, went on to Hastings College, played baseball there for 4 years. Then I stayed as a graduate assistant. Ended up coming back to teach there my first year teaching. Again, that really wasn't ever the plan either, but that's just kind of how it worked out. Um, Stepped on as an assistant for the first 3 years. Have a ton of respect for Jack Shadley. He was the head coach prior to me. He decided to take another opportunity, and we really couldn't find anybody else to do it. And I'd really hoped, even at that time, to stay as an assistant. But like I said, we didn't really have anybody that felt like was a right fit for the job. So I ended up kind of getting told I was going to do it. And 4 years later, here we are.
I'll go back a little bit to high school.
Played football at Sandy Creek in high school. We were 11 man at the time. We were actually class C1, so a lot's changed in the 10 years since then. We were playing C1 football at the time. We were pretty average, pretty below average really. We competed, but I think my senior year we went 4-4. I think the year before that we went 6-3. So we weren't great by any stretch of the imagination, but had a lot of kids that cared and worked hard, and we just didn't really. I don't know if it was a lack of talent or whatever it was, but we never really got over the hump. Um, yeah, played tight end and defensive end for the most part. Of course, that was 40 pounds ago, so I'd probably be an O lineman, D lineman now. But yeah, that was the football experience. And like I said, played baseball in college, so football never really was. It's always something I've loved and I really appreciated, but it wasn't necessarily the plan, I guess.
You went to school there. What's it like coaching, the community that you grew up in and played at?
It's pretty special. The support's incredible. We have so much support throughout the community. Anything we need, we get. And that's from financial support to really any other type of support. Our group of parents is incredible. Our administration is very supportive. A lot of the administrators that are here now were there when I was in school. And so I have a little bit different relationship with a lot of them in a very positive way. Thankfully, they have short memories and forgot how much of a pain in the butt I was in high school, or they've just moved past it, I guess. But it's been really cool being back there and kind of taking this program to a place that it's never been before. It's been really special.
Talking about what separates you guys and how you've turned it into a powerhouse, winning state championship last year. What's something you guys do different, or what separates your program from other eight-man programs?
I think we're somewhere between a spread and a pro type team. Almost every one of our snaps is from shotgun. I think more than anything, it just fits the kids we have. We don't, or at least the past 3 years, we haven't had a bunch of wide receiver type guys. We have a lot of tight end bodies, so we try to use tight ends a lot. But at the same time, I don't want to be a team that just lines up and hands the ball off and runs ISO. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not my style. Um, I want to try to create leverage any chance that we get. So a lot of what we do is formationally, we're trying to create advantages. And what we really want is for teams to over adjust, and so we can run back to the weak side. We're big on creating leverage. We pull guys a lot. I know at times pulls can kind of give away where the play's going, but we have some, pull one ways and we're running a backside reads, or we can, if teams are over adjusting to the pulls or, over pursuing to the pulls, we can pull it backside and run away from it. But we're just really trying to create leverage. We want our offense to be simple. We try to keep it really simple for seven guys and really hard for the quarterback. And that's just kind of my philosophy. Thankfully, we had, Ethan Shaw the last 3 years to keep it difficult for. He made a lot of things easy for me. Um, yeah, we're trying to create leverage. We're trying to not just run, through everybody or create gaps. We're trying to use the gaps that we have based off of alignment. So I think there's other teams that do what we do or do things very similarly. Um, I don't think that anybody has a playbook that looks exactly like ours, but I think you could probably say that about, any team in the state. But we try to keep it simple, try to use our leverage and try to try to throw it more than a lot of teams do. It's about last year's about 60-40, probably 65-35 is more accurate, but throw it more than a lot of teams do, but not as much as some. So we want to be a little bit balanced that way as well.
You guys are efficient in both, that's for sure. Fitting the schemes to the kids, you have a lot of tight end bodies. That's something like obviously I don't run the defense, but when we see the formations you guys run, that's something that's not, you don't like seeing that. Quarterback run, you got an extra blocker out there. Somebody's at a disadvantage. Finding ways to give yourself an advantage formationally. Yeah, I love that.
We're almost we don't have any designed run plays um, where the quarterback has to get rid of it. Everything is always a read or a quarterback run. We want to have the +1 blocking wise. We have one little end around jet sweep play where he's getting rid of it, but I guess it's technically a pass, so I don't know that I count that either. Yeah, we don't have any turn and hand it off plays where we always want to be +1. So our quarterbacks get ran a lot.
This year we're messing with some of that stuff. We're trying to get, some more quarterback run, but we'll see. I mean,
Well, our first year with Ethan as a sophomore, and this year with our sophomore quarterback now, like it's going to be all reads. We're not going to run a bunch of QB power like we did the last 2 years. It was all reads, but it's the same concept. We want to use him to take up a block, just like you guys do in your RPOs or your read systems. But I don't want our kid this year carrying it 30 times. I didn't want Ethan as a sophomore carrying it 30 times. I refuse to lose a blocker by just handing it off. I just don't want to do that.
getting more into offense now, but like you mentioned something about wristbands at the camp. How does that, I'd like you to just explain how that works for you, like updating that, throughout the week, or how that simplifies the play calling for your kids. Just talk about wristbands.
We're we're a little bit old school when it comes to huddles. Like I'm a big huddle guy. Every other person on our staff wants to go no huddle. I think that takes away from their communication. And so I'm being really stubborn about it, and I refuse to do it. Our wristband setup, quarterback's the only one with the wristband. It's got 108 plays on it. And what it is it tells him, formation, whether it's right or left, and then it tells him the play call. And a lot of times, like with our passing routes, it'll read out all of the passing routes that we're supposed to run. So, for instance, we might go trips right, dig fade post, or it might say, DT wing right, fade out, H peg. It'll tell the guys, and it's always from the strength to the weakness, outside to in, who runs what route. And so passing wise, they get kind of wordy, and then I got to get it to him early. He gets into the huddle, he reads it, and then they communicate with each other in the huddle. Then they break the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage, and talk. None of what we do up front really communicate, or none of the wristband really tells the offensive line what to do, because we're kind of a combo scheme. I don't know if I'd call it. We're not a zone scheme. I don't know if I'd call us a gap scheme. We're all combo. But their guys' responsibility up front is to get to the line of scrimmage, figure out how they're going to get the job done, and then get it done. Most of what we do, we're a lot of B gap runs. So a lot of times we're leaving the defensive end. We're either going to read him, we're going to kick him with the running back, we're going to kick him with a pulling guard. Very rarely do we just try to base that player out. We do a little bit, but very rarely do we do that. And so their responsibility is to get to the line of scrimmage, figure out where the play's going. And then the way we teach it is they get to the line of scrimmage, they think about the goal, they think about how many guys are coming. So our base plays are single blocker coming. That'd be like an ISO or a kick play. And then we have power plays where we have two lead blockers coming, and typically one's going to kick out and the other one's going to lead up to the outside most threat on the second level. So they just understand who it is they have to leave, and then they talk to each other on how to get it done after that. There's so much communication there that the defense knows what we're doing most of the time. And defenses that try to shift or move guys around or bring late blitzes or things like that can give us some trouble. But what we found is that when we're seeing a lot of that, we'll go on a hard count system, and a lot of times high school kids they can't hold their water that long, and they end up showing it. But a lot of that just it stems from the quarterback making decisions in the huddle and at the line, and the offensive line talking to each other and making those decisions. So I think the very first play on our wristband is DT right 12 QB ISO. And I know last year we ran that in one drive. I don't remember who it was against. We ran it three different times in one drive, and it was blocked three totally different ways. We had our tight end and right guard fold block one time. The one time it was just a base play where we inside released the end, and the play side tight end went up to the stack linebacker. We had one where the right guard, pinned down or fill blocked on the nose, and the center wrapped up to the mic. It looks all different ways, and that's those guys' decisions to make at the line of scrimmage. So we teach them the different blocks we want them to utilize, and then it's their job to do it. And I feel like when you give them the freedom to do it, they're more locked in. When you give them the ability to make decisions, they're more likely to be locked in. And then a lot of our guys are lazy, so they want to do it the easiest way possible. So you give them the freedom to find the easiest way to do it, and you trust them to get it done.
I like the extra communication. And really though, if the defense knows what you're doing, oh well, as long as that's the worst thing. If you don't know what you're doing, and there you go, if you give them the choice or simplify it, find the easiest way to block this efficiently and get it done. Plus your guys obviously good enough skill wise to get it done, winning state championship last year, but no, I like that.
I don't know if it would work with like it fits our guys, but we also last year had a bunch of dudes. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it could work for anybody. I don't know. I don't know whether that's if we run into a group that we're not very talented up front. I have no clue how it's going to go, but it's what we're going to try.
Depth into your guys either way. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I like that. And the communication, so even with the wristband, you still enforce the communication in the huddle and at the line. Not that I have anything against huddling or wristbands, but I prefer the hand signals, I guess, in the one word play calls.
We have hand signals for some of our base run plays, and we have hand signals for all our routes. So if we want to try to call something that's not on the sheet, like I can signal in, I can go like trips right open, so we're 3 by 1, and then I can call, if I want to go like slant, post, dig, whatever it is, we can signal things in as well.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times our receivers will know those hand signals, but I'm still just sending them to the quarterback, and then he relays it.
And that's one thing about the signals or the no huddle system where I've it does force communication if somebody didn't see the signal, or if they didn't hear the call from the sideline. Now they have to communicate, to each
Yeah.
other. So you said your routes, so your tree routes, whatever, are listed on the play. Are you guys like number tree or like concept based, teaching the concept behind those routes too, or just you're running this route and that's what you got to do?
Kind of the second thing where you're kind of running the route. And then we talk a lot about spacing and understanding levels. I mean, we have about 8 routes probably that we run pretty regularly. Your fade, your post, your corner. We have a typical dig route, 10 yards and in. I didn't know what to call it, so we called it a peg route just because I thought it'd be easy to say and easy to remember. It's like 10 to 12, and then it's kind of angled out. So it's like an abbreviated drag route rather than having the backside tight end run a drag. The play side tight ends get into that spot on the field. We just called it a peg. Some teams call it an out, and then they call their 5 yard out a quick or a quick out. We were already calling the 5 yard out just an out route. So we went with that name. We run slants. We do run drags. We run hitches. But that's really it. And then our job is to just make sure we're spaced out. So we talk a lot about vertical threats, and like we run a lot of vertical routes. We like to space the field vertically. And it's really important for our guys to understand what other guys are doing so they can run to those areas. And we have a lot of three vertical route concepts where it's the split out and then both tight ends are running vertically. And it's for us, we work a lot on just spacing. So it's really important for them to understand who else is going where so they can get to a space to not be on top of each other.
Talking more pass here. I always just love talking to coaches, hear how you call it, the reasoning behind it, and obviously how you're teaching it. So, how does your quarterback know what the read is within the route combination?
A lot of it is we're big like it's old school because I don't know any better. like we try to create a lot of triangles, and then we're just reading the triangles, and a lot of it's just based off of pre-snap. We see a lot of cover three with just our formations. We end up seeing a lot of cover three, and so a lot of that's trying to attack the middle area, just beyond the flats and short of the deep. Um, so a lot of it's play based. We'll talk specifically on plays of the reads based off of the breaks and when guys are going to get there, the order I want to do it in. But with all of our passing concepts, we really only run about really four different concepts where we're either trying to run a dig route underneath a vertical, or we're trying to run a dig underneath a post, or we're trying to run that, like I said, that 12-yard out route. And so really it's just understanding the concept of the play. We're big on, and this is for everybody, but especially our quarterback, they have to understand the goal of the play and they have to understand the spacing. And then so much of it's pre-snap. We haven't found a defense that, every coach is capable, every DC that we see is capable of doing this, but I feel like not every group of 8 16-year-olds is capable of doing it, really disguising things and really hiding things well. And then, like I said, I think because we're run first and we run the ball out of all of our formations, teams are lining up to stop the run first, and then that gives away a lot of coverage as well. So a lot of it's just understanding, getting alignment to where we have a pretty good idea of what we're going to see, um, and then him making a pre-snap and going from there. So we
And
don't signal intercommunicate. We don't have different reads. If we miss one, we'll come back to it later in the game. And sometimes I'll run it into I'll send a receiver in and tell him to change your read or look here first or whatever it is. But a lot of it's pre-snap. A lot of it's pre-snap based off of defensive alignment.
you don't see a lot of passing in eight man
Yeah.
consistently. So you don't see a lot of different varying coverages because you don't need to. But yeah, you don't see disguised coverages in eight man at all, really. I
Yeah,
mean,
I not with a team like us where we're still running it 2/3 of the time. I we like you talked about some disguises. We did a little bit of that last year when we were seeing teams that we knew were going to throw it, 60-70% of the time. Out of our 3-3 stack, it's really hard to do. We can play zone on one side of the field, man on the other side, or we can banjo pass some things off. But other than that, it's pretty simple. When we go to our two front look, which we ran a little bit of last year, we can do some of that. But I think most teams, when you're trying to stop run first, it's the pass coverage ends up getting simplified quite a bit.
what would you say consistently across the state of Nebraska do you see covering your offense, like defensive coverages and alignment? What would you say, eight man wise?
I think the most common defense is a 3-2 monster, whether they call it a 3-2 or a 3-4. I think most teams in Nebraska play their corners like outside linebackers. I think that especially against a team that has a safety over the top, I think that having those guys play like outside linebackers is critical because so much of Nebraska's run heavy. Um, that's what we've seen the most. We've seen some fours, we've seen some twos. Shelby Rising City runs a really good true forefront. They're four guys going every time, and they're really good at it. I think that defense specifically, if you're not really good at it, it's really hard to get stops because you can just out leverage teams and you can create mismatches and looks offensively to be really explosive. But yeah, so forefronts I think are difficult. And I think that if you're not really good at it, we can expose it in some ways. But again, hats off to Shelby. They run a tremendous defense. Um, I don't see as many 3-3s like ours, where it's a true 3-3 stack. Most of what we see is a base 3-2 defense with a safety over the top, and then we're seeing a few more 2-2-3s, 2-4s throughout. But with us going heavy so much, they end up looking a lot of times like four fronts because they're rolling those outside linebackers down anyways. And then most of our blocking schemes, we're just blocking it like a four anyways. So yeah, it's teams mix it up a little bit, but with us having most of the time seven guys in the box, that's teams have to load the box against it.
The four man front, yeah. I mean, it depends on, I guess, how many DBs you got. But if you're at 4-1 against a spread team or even a tight team, one linebacker, in the middle, that's tough. But like you said, they obviously must know what they're doing, or they're pretty good at it.
It fits their kids really well. I would flirt with calling it a 4-4. Like if we're in the box, they're in the box. They don't hang guys over. They load the box. They want you to beat them with toss. and then you have to beat them with pass. But they're pretty much all man coverage, but they guard really well. And then when they're bringing four every time, now last year they had an all-state or a D tackle, and they had a couple other really good players that they were going to win one-on-one. So that's it fit those guys. But like I said, they ran it really well. But I don't know that for most teams. Against a team like us, where we'll spread guys out and we'll do some different things and we'll throw the ball vertically, I think that's a tough defense to run with what we do unless you're really good at it, like Shelby.
So I'm going to move on though here to this next question. Just kind of reflect on last year. Somebody that doesn't know how Sandy Creek did or, what the season was like last year, talk about last season.
Last year for us really started the Monday after we lost to Stanton in the semifinals the year before. That was a game we felt like, in hats out, they were a tremendous team 2 years ago. They were a tremendous team last year. Um, but we just felt like 2 years ago in that semifinal game at home, we just didn't play well enough. We had a chance to win that game. We were up in the fourth quarter, and we just couldn't hold on to the ball and we couldn't get stops defensively. And really starting that next Monday, our guys got back in the weight room, and there was just they had a hunger to them and a drive to them that was really incredible to watch and to be a part of. The summer went really well for us. Weights attendance was outstanding. They were really driven. We went to four different team camps that they were really locked in for throughout. We get to the season. It's when you bring back seven starters on offense and eight on defense from a team that went 11-1 the year before, you feel pretty good about where you are. And so we were way ahead of where we were the year before in terms of preparation going into the season. Our schedule was a really difficult one between you guys, Johnson Brock at the week one, Shelby week two. Those are two really good football programs. Week 4, 5, 6, I think we played. 5, 6, 7. We played Sutton, Thayer Central, and EMF, and those are three historically really solid teams and really well coached as well. So we played a lot of really tough football games. It seemed like just most of the year though, things just went our way. If a ball bounced, it was bouncing towards us. If a ball hit the turf, we were the ones picking it up. It was just one of those seasons where, for the most part, things went our way, and they went our way a lot. Um, and so a lot of luck went with that. We got really fortunate staying really healthy as well. Lost one kid to start the year, Caden Schmidt. He's a tremendous player. He's going to be our starting running back, our starting corner. He had 115 tackles, I think, as a sophomore. So he's a really good player, and we're really happy to have him back. But starting the season with you guys, and we talked about the difference in where our programs were with you coming in as a first year head coach and a new system for all those guys, and them losing some of the dudes they lost, and then us coming off that loss. That was a game that our guys they couldn't have been more excited for, and they couldn't have been more ready for. Week two against Shelby, their defense gave us some fits. I think we won that game 28-6, and it was a really great game for us to have to battle through. It was really frustrating offensively because we just weren't executing. Um, Ethan Shaw, our quarterback last year, he had to get his appendix removed in mid-July, and so he was way behind. He's still a tremendous player, and he was still really good those first 2 weeks, but he was way behind, and he was just missing some throws and missing some reads that game just because he wasn't really ready yet. But then from there on, things just really kind of went our way. We played Thayer Central, I think, in week 5, and they were a really good football team, and they were really tough. And it was just one of those games where our defense was flying all over the field and being extremely physical, and we were able to hold them down offensively. Sutton was a game that I thought they were really solid coming in and thought it was going to be a battle, but we were able to throw the football extremely well that game, and yeah, Ethan made some throws that I still can't believe he made. It was just unreal the way he was throwing the football that game. Um, we get to the playoffs, and we're the number one seed, so we're playing the 32 and a team that another team, Niobrara Verdigris, that I think is really well coached, but I just don't think that athlete per athlete, it was just a tough situation for them. And then again, things going our way. The next week, the number two seed in the West. So the way Nebraska 8-man playoffs have worked through last year, now they changed it so it doesn't apply anymore. The first round they'd split East and West, and then they'd figure out the 32 playoff teams. They'd split them East and West. You'd go, 1 versus 16 in the West, 2 versus 15 in the West. Um, Well, the way it worked out, the lowest two playoff points teams were in the West. So we played the lowest team that made the playoffs points wise and beat them. But then the 15 seed in the West ended up beating the 2 seed in the West, just a major upset. Um, and so they beat them. And then after the first round of playoffs, they reseed everything and put everybody together. And so us being the top seed, we actually played them the second week. So the first 2 weeks of playoffs, we played the 32 seed and then the 31 seed. And it was a similar situation where coach does a great job. They're really well coached. Their kids are competitive, but just in terms of the Jimmies and Joes, we just um, I think we just had an advantage there. Um, then we played Shelby again in the quarterfinals, and that was a game that our kids were really excited for. They really wanted another chance at. And it was raining the entire game, and it was miserably cold. And again, talking about things just going our way, they couldn't seem to hold on to the football. They struggled with the weather. They fumbled it quite a few times, couldn't handle snaps, and it seemed like every ball that hit the grass was ours. And so that game got out of hand really fast, just with the way the game went. Everything went our way, and it didn't go theirs. I think that ended up being 54-0. We played Lord Central Catholic in the semifinals. They're a team that I think surprised a lot of teams to get there. They upset a couple teams, and they were playing really well at the time. And that was a battle early. But then kind of I know we blocked a punt for a touchdown. We scored on a couple one play drives where we just hit big shots. That was another game that just kind of got away from them early. And I think that ended up 63-8. Um, and then we played Stanton in the finals, and Stanton's the defending state champions. The year before they lost in the semifinals. So they were like 36-1 coming into that game over the last 3 years, um, with an incredibly talented group of kids, with a really really well coached group. A lot of tough kids on that team. They had a kid that he's going to play offensive line at Texas Tech. They had a pair of runners that I think ran for like 1,800 and 1,400 yards apiece. Um, just a tremendous group of kids that game was a battle, and that game did not go our way early. We got down 20-8, I think, or 20-6 uh, right away. And it just felt like a game that could have got away from us, but our guys battled back, and we were able to force a couple turnovers, and ended up winning at 44-42. So that was a pretty back and forth game and a pretty tightly contested one.
2 points in any game at 8 man, you feel like what if, if you're on the other side, but in a state championship game, man, what talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so we went. I think it was 20-8. We went down. Um, we had two kickoffs in the first half. That one of them, our kid, we kind of had a reverse setup. He was going to throw it across the field, which I give a ton of freedom to our assistants. I trust everybody to do their job, and they'd worked on it all week. And my rule of thumb always for special teams is just whatever you do, I want the ball back. I don't care whatever it is. If you don't score on it, then we better be taking the next snap on offense. Otherwise, do whatever you want. And they'd worked all week on because we knew they were going to kind of send some low pooches because they didn't want to kick it to Rempy. They were going to kick it to our upbacks, and we worked all week on him receiving that, hopefully getting a good hop off the turf, and then he was actually going to turn and throw it all the way across the field to Rempy. And that was the play. That was the plan on that first one. Um, but they didn't kick it quite as far as we needed to. He kind of hesitated, and then he tried to run with it, didn't get it tucked away. We lost it. And then they go down and score again. And so now I think it's 14-8. And then they kick off again, and they kicked the even shorter pooch, and the second level guy just didn't jump on it. He's just sitting at his feet, and he just didn't get on it. So we scored on our first possession, and then they had three straight possessions from there where they went score, score, score. And it felt, I did not feel very confident at that time, going down 20-8. We ended up making a push in the second quarter. We got it cut back to 28-20. And then right before halftime, they were going to punch it in. They were down on like the 3 or 4 yard line with one play left. And then, really unfortunately for them, really fortunately for us, it was a bad snap. The quarterback, jumped on it rather than trying to pick it up and do something with it. And they were out of timeouts and the clock ran out. So we went into the locker room down 28-20. And at that point, I felt really good about where we were because we were getting the ball coming out. We'd kind of weathered the storm. We'd kind of overcame some of those mistakes that we'd made, and to just be down a score with the ball coming out felt like we were in a much better spot. We came out to start the second half. We scored right away. Um, I don't remember. I know our first touchdown was on a slow go to our freshman. Uh, I think our next couple touchdowns were on speed option plays. One of them, Shaw kept it. The other one, Rempe got the pitch and then cut all the way back across the field for a long one. So I think that the first drive in the third quarter was a touchdown to Wes Biltoff on like a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8. He ran a seam. They had great coverage on it. Ethan threw an incredible ball. He came down with it. We ended up scoring. And then I know like that tied the game. And then 2 or 3 plays later, we forced a fumble and came up with it. And then we threw a touchdown to the back corner of the end zone to Rampy to go up for the first time. And that was a game that I actually still think he might have been out. It was reviewed for like 3 minutes. But it was first and goal on the 8 or 9 yard line. And with our offense, I felt really good about, even if they called it incomplete, we were going to have a chance to score again. Whether we did or not, we were going to have a chance. Um, so that was a situation where all of everybody on staff's yelling at me to hurry up and call a play to try to beat the replay. And to me, it felt like it was more important to get the right 2 point conversion play to go up 8 instead of 6. And I kind of felt like they weren't going to let us snap the ball without reviewing it anyways. So we just took our time and came up with the best plan we could. And it was actually a play we'd never ran before. Ethan kind of drew it up in the dirt and we went with it. We allowed him to do quite a bit of that last year. So we go up. It's back and forth from there. The game gets to, I know, 36-36. We go and score again our final time and make the 2 point conversion. So it's 44-36. And that's in the third quarter. So we scored 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. We didn't score again after that. Um, Start the fourth quarter, we're up 8. They march down and score. And Connor Empey comes up with a stop on the 2 point conversion. They went sweep his way and he ended up making the play. We're up 2. And then on our next drive, it was a long drive. Um, we marched down the field. I think it probably took 6 or 7 minutes. Um, we get down inside the 10 and we throw a dig route to our freshman again. And he kind of got handcuffed on it. It was really right on the money, but it was kind of right in between. Does he go get it with his hands? Does he try to, body catch it, which we never want him to do? But in that situation, it's really hard to get too down on the guy for making that decision. But it bounces off his shoulder pad and goes up in the air, and they pick it off. Otherwise, we could have went up 8 or 10 and kind of put the game away at that point with just about a minute and a half left. So they pick it off, and we're only up 2. And there's enough time where I felt like it's going to be hard for us to get a stop here. Um, and it's back and forth of like, if they do score, we're not going to have any time left. It was a really difficult situation to be in. But our guys stepped up defensively. Um, Again, Connor Rempe, the smallest kid on the field, 130, 135. I think I had him listed at 150, and I knew like with helmet and shoulder pads on, and if we'd have dipped him in the pool, he wouldn't have been 150 probably. He made the stop on fourth down to get us the ball back. Um, and then we had about a minute and a half left. We just had to pick up one first down. We were able to do that and run out the clock. But I think if you talk to either us or Stanton, neither of us played a great game. It was a great game, but neither of us individually played great. They had 2 or 3 turnovers. We had 1 turnover plus the 2 kick returns that we didn't get. So it was just kind of not the cleanest game played. We both went through spurts where we made mistakes, but it was a great game. It was incredibly competitive. We have a ton of respect for that group of guys. I have a really close relationship with Coach Stoddard, their head coach. A lot of our guys are really good buddies with their players now, so that's kind of interesting that worked out that way. But it was just a really special game.
I watched it. I didn't get to go. A lot of our assistant coaches and stuff went down there, and some of our junior players did, to try to experience that because they've never been to state football game, obviously. But that was an awesome game to watch for sure. Like you said, I mean, yeah, you might not have played your greatest, or they might not have either, but that's the way it's going to be when two legit teams are, competing for a state championship. There's going to be some mistakes both ways, but yeah, that was fun to watch. And obviously, not that I cared who won, but as being a team that played you guys and lost, it was like, hey, we lost to state champs, So moving on a little bit from that, but not really, not far. So building off of last year, what are you looking forward to most next year? What's the biggest change, focus heading into next year? What are you looking forward to most?
I think one of the things offensively that we have to do is share the football more. Um, I think we're going to be more athletic this year than we were last year. I think we're going to be faster. We're not going to be as big, um, but I think we have more guys to spread the football to give touches to. Offensively, I think our offensive line is going to look different, uh, but I don't know that we're going to be a whole lot worse than we were last year. Um, we're going to start two juniors and a senior. The one started as a sophomore last year and is a really good football player, and he's only gotten better. All of those guys work their butts off in the weight room. We have our tight end. Our tight end group is probably going to be better just because our one goes from a sophomore to a junior, and then we actually added a transfer. It's our head basketball coach's nephew. Came down with him when he made the move, and he's playing for us, and he's a really good athlete. He might be our most athletic kid. But offensively, it has to look different. We're not going to be able to line up and run QB power every play. It has to be more option. We have to be less reliable on one player. But I think the positive of that is we have quite a few guys that I think can be really effective with the ball in their hands. I think we're going to throw the football a little bit more this year, not necessarily just out of necessity, but again, we have more skill position players that I want to get the ball to. Um, I'm not on the Mike Leach regimen where I think that if you got five skill position players, then a truly balanced offense is 80 pass, 20 run because you're throwing it to the four receivers equally as well. Um, but I could see a world where we're closer to 50-50 this year. We're going to have to try to get the ball more in space than we did last year. Defensively, I think that um, our defensive line won't be what it was last year, but I think that uh, as a group, I think we can be almost as effective as we were last year, just with the speed that we're going to have on the field and with some different body type athletes. But I think they can be really effective. So I think for us as a staff, the biggest adjustment is going to be finding a way to make those adjustments early. Because like we talked about, we see you guys week one, we see Shelby week two. Those are two of the best teams in the state. And so we don't have time we're not going to have the luxury of figuring it out as we go. We're going to have to try to have it figured out when that time comes because we start off with a couple really big tests right from the start.
Again, kind of the same theme you've said it throughout, but adapting to your guys. And moving on to the last question then. So just biggest piece of advice for young or aspiring coaches. So I mean, you've only been a head coach for 4 years, or you got a state championship under your belt. What would you say to upcoming coaches or young coaches or any coaches out there? Biggest piece of advice.
I think I would say a couple things. Number one, I think you don't have to. In my opinion, the best way to approach building a program is to have it be player led and player driven. Um, we're huge on our players making decisions. We're huge on them having an impact. I don't want them to be bought in. I want them to be all in. That's something that we talk about a lot. So our players make a ton of decisions. We put a ton of trust in their hands. It's their program. It's their program, and if you have the right group of kids that can do it the right way, I think it sets up the future. That sets up the incoming groups and the groups down the line to continue that. I think that's something we were really fortunate with to have the group of kids that we did. Yeah, but I think it has to be player led, and you can't micromanage. That's my opinion on it. Going off of that, I think as a head coach you have to trust your assistants. You have to find great assistants. You have to find guys that you trust. You have to put them in positions to make those decisions, but then you have to trust them to do it. That's one of the things that I struggled with early, especially my first year. And I've worked really hard on the last couple of years is to find great assistants, but then let them do their jobs and trust them to do their jobs and don't micromanage it. Um, put them in positions to make decisions, go with it. Ultimately, everything has to, it rests on you and it's your responsibility and it's your final decision to make. But I think the best thing I've done for myself in terms of being a head coach is to find great assistants and then trust them to do their job.
Great advice. It is their program, and you obviously want it to be organic, ever growing, and hopefully always ever growing in the right way. But yeah, that's great stuff, Coach. Coach, I want to just say thanks for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate you taking the time to join me and wish you guys best of luck this year, but maybe not so much luck in week one. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to talk football. It's been enjoyable getting to talk to you the last couple of weeks, kind of getting geared up for this, and any chance to talk ball, I'm all for it. So I hope you guys go 11-2 next year. That's my hope for you.
Yeah. 11-2 wouldn't be bad, you know. Hopefully 12-1 or 13-0, that'd be a little better though, you know. But yeah, again, thanks coach for doing this. Really appreciate it. And good luck this year. And that's going to do it for this episode of the 8-Man Breakdowns podcast. If you ever have a question for me, feel free to comment below on this video or follow and message me on Twitter at 8Man Breakdowns. If you've learned anything or enjoyed the video, please click subscribe and check out some of my other videos right here. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in.